I do feel
All right,
like
here we
this is a 70s interrogation a little bit.
Right, it's the table. Yeah, it's the table and the 2 microphones.
The lights, I love
There's
it.
a
Ready?
computer. All right, so we're back. This is the Pitch Podcast, coming to you live from the Payne Upton Jones household. And he is now, at the current moment, doing a little production duty, so you may not hear quite as much of him as you have in the past. At least for this one, we're gonna just try some things out, see what's gonna work best. He's definitely still a part of what's happening, so even if you don't hear him,
I'm here.
he's all up in this thing. We've come back to you particularly at this time because we want to make sure that we get something covered that's you may have heard about happening recently, and I guess for some people still is, and that is the U.S. Olympics 2016 edition. I said U.S. Olympics, and what I meant to say was Rio U.S. Olympic team and all their athletic endeavors, and also specifically to this podcast, the U.S. women's national team and their road
To and from.
to and from, through, I was going to say.
Through.
So you've got me, this is Adam, and you've already heard my compatriot Bree.
What's up?
Bree is now directly involved in the soccer goings-ons. That's what I'm calling it.
That's what I'm going to call it now.
And so I want you to tell us about exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
And the role you play, and specifically some of the things you've been involved with on a personal level with it.
You make it sound a lot bigger than it is.
I feel like it's a
but
pretty big deal.
appreciate that.
I'm not trying to build it up. It's
Aw.
kind of a big deal.
Thank you. No, well, recently
This adds a lot of legitimacy to what we're doing right here.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, really.
You're welcome. Before I even tell you. You're welcome.
I'm excited to hear about it.
So, I recently became a competitive soccer coach.
That's really cool.
In order to do that, the club that I work for required me to get my U.S. Soccer E license and F license. So, the F license, it's a series of like how to work with 5-year-olds through 8-year-olds with teaching them soccer for the first time and what U.S. soccer sort of expects out of a coach at that level.
And we can see why there would need to be licensed for such things.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's on top of a background check and all of those sorts of things for the local club. So an E license, the F license you can take online. It's like $25. I would highly recommend anyone to do it if you want to get into soccer a little bit more and understand it. You learn the rules of soccer more. You start to understand it more from a player's perspective and a coach's perspective.
Very cool.
So the E license is a little more intense than that.
What
I
does
thought
that mean?
it was. So it goes from F to A. A being they're developing an A license for a pro coach, and right now you can also use that to be a youth technical director at a club.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm on E.
Okay.
And you have to take a couple of pre-tests online, and then you
Pre-test.
go, and I thought it was going to be like a bunch of coaches on their laptops in a hotel for 3 days, because it's like blocked out from 6:30 at night the first day to 9:30, the next day it was like 8 to 9:30 at night the next day, until like 5 in the afternoon.
Interesting.
Pouring down rain on the last day, and this is when we're being evaluated for our license.
So it's like an oral test or something? What's happening?
No, well, so what you have to do is you have to coach coaches.
Oh.
So, and
Like
this
a
one,
role play sort of thing?
no, I mean, you're actually playing. I
Oh,
actually did sprain my ankle during
My
my
goodness.
coach's licensing test.
You're so
I was
legit.
wiped out. I mean, it was soccer boot camp for coaches.
Okay,
Where you're
okay.
a player again, you're being coached again.
Now I'm getting a feel for what's happening.
Yeah, and it kind of got a little bit of emotion over it when I was doing it, because I haven't had a coach in so long.
Right.
To hear somebody telling you, like, okay, just adjust this, and then seeing the product of that. But I will tell you, one of the funny things that happened, so other coaches are assigned a topic, and they set up a session or a drill for the other coaches to be involved in. Sometimes they'll bring out like a youth team, but mostly it's coaches. So I'm doing this one, and this is probably, I think it's like the last day. It's on Sunday. I'm exhausted. I didn't really sleep between the 2 nights. I'm just physically, emotionally, mentally exhausted. And I come down hard on my ankle. The next play I get, I'm playing the number 9 position, the forward. I get the ball. I have field for days. Immediately trip over my feet and literally fall on my face.
Wow. Is there video footage of this?
No, I hope not. In my brain, it's on a loop, though.
I bet it is. I bet it is.
And
I'd love to see that loop.
And I am genuinely hurt, but I'm not going to go, like, up to the coach of coaches and be like, oh, I hurt my ankle, you know? And then, so I'm like... So he finally calls, like, everyone off to talk about what happened, and I'm, like, sort of hobbling over there, and I sounded really emotional over what he was saying. He's like, all right, what you have to do is this, and I'm like, yes,
Oh, man,
okay, yeah. So anyways, that was my experience getting my E-license. So you have to wait 6 months, and then I can get my
So
E-license.
how you perform on the field in that game is... the entire exam?
No, you have like classes for a couple hours, but then you also have to perform on the field, the exercises, and then you have to provide an exercise.
Oh, okay.
And this is all U.S. Soccer trying to create this unified style of play.
Which is a great thing. I think we can all agree.
So one of the points that the Alabama Youth Technical Director that he made was U.S. Soccer is trying to get on the same page, and other countries genuinely fear if we could get our youth program all on the same page, we would have one of the most dominating soccer scenes in the world.
I mean, we're America. This is what we do. We dominate.
We try.
We do a pretty good job.
So, which brings us into what happened with Sweden.
Right. As I say that, there is something that does need to be discussed about recent events on the national level.
I'm going to admit right now that I still haven't watched it in its entirety.
I haven't watched it in its entirety. I caught most of it live. And, you know, honestly, I thought it was, you know, there wasn't a lot of offense, but I thought it was a very well-played game on both sides. Very competitive. And as you would expect it to be, considering that
if it comes down to PKs, it's an even match. You're down to
Sweden, I mean, let's be honest. Sweden's a legitimate team. I don't know that the result of that game exactly reflects their level of play over ours.
See, that's where I think we're different on that. I think it absolutely displays the power that they have coming from that. I think, too...
Are you saying that you think they're better? Is that what you're saying?
I think they played better.
Okay.
I think they played better. And I think if you can topple a top-ranked team by simply playing a tight defense... Well, that top-ranked team has a lot of work to do.
I agree. I absolutely agree. I mean, that probably translates to most sports.
None of them lost my respect. Nothing like that. The U.S. women's team, this particular one and this incarnation of it will always have a special place in my heart. But
indeed,
does that game show us that they have some more work to do? That the game's maybe evolving past them a little bit? Where are these areas?
Let me ask you this. They lost some key personnel since the World Cup team. And there's been a little bit of turnover there in certain key positions. There are certain key personalities on that team that have been so for a while that aren't there anymore. Do you think the turnover within the club, within our national squad, do you think that played itself out and sort of maybe led up to, in certain ways, what we saw there with Sweden? Is the leadership that was there now changed, obviously, but to what extent and how much is that affecting things?
Okay, so...
Does that play into this?
Leadership of Sweden has almost everything to do with what happened in that game.
Okay.
So, before we had Jill Ellis, we had... I forget his name, but he's the... Tom Sermanni.
Yes.
He's now the coach at Orlando Pride. And really, Tom Sermanni was not given a lot of time to implement a lot of change. Right. And he was trying really fast. The players... And the rumor is sort of they all rallied around Abby Wambach. Obviously, people like Alex Morgan, Ashlyn Harris, people who played for him then and play for him now at the Orlando Pride, obviously they have no problem with him. Right. But there was some rumors. It was like people rallying around Abby Wambach, and the players had a meeting, met with U.S. Soccer, and then really suddenly he was out. So it left them with a hole. And Jill Ellis is the one who stepped up and who was picked out. She was an interim coach for a while, did really well. She got a lot of hatred on the internet. I mean, I think anyone who puts themselves out there does. But
It was
a
short-lived,
lot of people
I
were
think, though, too.
questioning her, and then the World Cup happened. Right. So the coach before Tom Sermani was Pia, and Pia was so well loved because we had won two gold medals under her.
She'd been there a long time.
She got our team.
Right.
She left and went to Sweden, her home country.
Right.
Where she's the head coach of the women's team.
Right.
She knows our team better than any coach that's coaching in the world right now.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
We can go head-to-head with Germany. We can go head-to-head with France. But going head-to-head with Sweden is a mind game.
So you think it was a psychological deal?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's interesting. I hadn't thought about it that way.
It has to be. If they're, everything I read said they're playing this really deep, tight defense, and that's what Hope Solo was responding to, saying it's cowardly. I don't think it's cowardly to have a deep defense when you're playing a very intense, highly ranked team.
Yeah,
just because you're an
natural
underdog.
Response to what you're looking at on the other side,
Absolutely.
the U.S.
If I were to play a rival, if I were to play my high school coach's team,
right,
and I know how he coaches, and maybe I know his players,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to sit there and withhold that information from my players.
Absolutely.
I think, when you see, to me, it's the same thing as somebody tackling somebody where it's 50-50. You gotta award the effort. Does it mean it was pretty? No. Was it effective? Probably, right?
Right.
You either stopped the play or you got possession.
So obviously Sweden's after results there. They're looking for a win. They're trying to figure out the best way they can do that, and they think, hey, we're going to set up hard defense. We're going to play back. We're going to, let them do their possession thing, and when we're going to try and just keep it even. And guess what? That's exactly what happened. And they were able to respond to us on the field during regulation play. And I thought that they played well with us, as in terms of their offense. I thought it was pretty good. I think that there's obviously a lot of ways to flip the field on the U.S. because we play forward heavy. I mean, we're very much all about moving the ball.
We are a one-touch pass team, speed, agility.
And I think that's great, but it leaves some holes in the transition. And I thought they exploited that really well. I mean, they didn't get the win in regulation as a result of that. And that's a lot because we do play possession. But I thought, did a really good job within the regulation. And then, obviously we had the overtime. Nothing happened. And, I don't know if there's anybody that stood out to you in the game. We'll get to the penalty kicks here in a second. But so you haven't seen all the game, right?
I've
so
seen the clips, and I've read a lot about it. I'm still prepping myself for it.
Yeah.
I think whenever you have a team that you love and you see them trip, you have to sort of brace yourself too.
Right,
like
absolutely.
I'm that person that watches sports on TV and I'm sitting there like kicking, like having these like little flinches, like as if I'm out there.
You know what? Honestly, I think if we had lost the regulation, I think that if we would have lost 3-2, and maybe they score like in like the the 80th something minute. And it ends like that. It's close, but it ends within regulation. I think our opinion of this result is different. Because I think that it doesn't look so much like we caved. I think it looks like we were just outplayed, and that's really
we're out of gas.
We're out of gas. Okay, so we're gonna get to the penalty kicks, and we get to what's her name?
Kristen Press?
No, the first one. What?
I don't remember. Alex Morgan,
thank you. Alex Morgan gets up there and she misses. And you have to wonder, Alex Morgan, how many times has she made those? How many times has that not been a problem? And she misses that one. And that's tough. I mean, I think that sets the bar, puts a lot of pressure on the people coming after her. And then you get to Morgan Press and... Kristen Press. Damn it. And then you get to Kristen Press and you see, what happens. She sails it over the crossbar.
Which had been, honestly, consistent throughout the entire World Cup. I like Kristen Press. I think she has a great range on the ball. But right now, when you're seeing it flying over the crossbar, like the other day, there was a direct kick in the Colombia game, which was a beautiful game, by the way. I mean, just a beautiful game of soccer, the Colombia game. I've watched it 3 times. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, it was outside the 18. It was close to the midfield. And I was like, oh, Jill Ellis has to get Kristen Press to take this because it's going to go in the goal. It hit the crossbar, I think. It went just wide. I mean, it's those little things where they lose focus because they're so exhausted. You have to remember, they just came off the World Cup, winning the World Cup, playing the most games, or one of the 2 teams that played the most games in that.
And they didn't have an easy road playing against Sweden either. I mean, they had just come off a game where Carly Lloyd scored at the very end again to save them. That's happened twice in the Olympics for the team. So,
and the Colombia game was just like heartbreaking. When you're, I think that goalies are like the kickers of football, American football, where you don't want to say anything to them. They're always like, don't say anything to the kicker. That's kind of how the goalie can be.
Right.
And so to miss something so simple for her, that's got to put a lot of pressure on
She really redeemed herself. I thought that in the terms of, in talking just about Hope Solo here, she redeemed herself there in that penalty kick round where she stopped the ball and gave us a chance. I mean, we were already down 1, and she made a great save and put us back in it. So, you cannot blame her for any of this, in my personal opinion. Not in this game, not against Sweden.
No.
I thought that the crucial errors that happened in that game were on our offensive people. They happened within the game, I thought, a couple of times where they seemed to try and rush things. They seemed just not quite all on the same page. It may have been fatigue.
I feel like we were hesitating, going to the ball a lot, waiting for it to come to us. And I say all this and know that I'm going to, in a coach's camp last weekend, I got a ball with a breakaway and fell on my face.
Right.
So, no, I say that all while knowing that I can never fix the problem.
Of course.
But as an audience member, as a fan...
It seems fairly obvious to me they just need to work on getting back together. Forming, the new dynasty level that's come after some of the changes that have been made.
Got a lot of new faces.
Right, and so we need to be playing together. And I think, it's unfortunate that this happened right before the Olympics because I think it really did play out there. And that's what we can really attribute the Sweden loss to. But hats off to Sweden. And, they played great. We've said that. And overall, I thought that the tournament itself within the Olympics, I think it's been very good so far. Very competitive.
I think the thing, too, to keep in mind is it's not over.
Oh,
not just about the
absolutely.
U.S. I'm talking about the women's soccer finals for the Olympics haven't happened yet.
Right.
They're still going to be entertaining. If
Absolutely.
anything, are going to be, I think, a little bit more entertaining now that there's that pressure off of us as fans of the United States to see and actually see, like, okay, who's good? Oh, we beat them. Or who's really great? Who's standing out without us there?
So, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to watching the final. And definitely just to see whatever else we're going to be able to do on a national level. Some of the faces we have now may not be there for the next World Cup, but
and
I like where we're going.
Olympic break, NWSL season comes back.
That's right. And we're going to be back with you as a podcast.
And guess what? Our friend Caroline Stanley of the NWSL now starting goalie of Sky Blue with Kelly O'Hara, Christy Rampone, and the ESPY nominated Raquel Rodriguez, or Rocky, who she is doing a carpool karaoke-esque interview with.
Wow.
Tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay.
Tomorrow from when this was recorded.
Right, of course. Tomorrow, that's going to be Sunday, August 14th. So,
I'm glad we got back together for this.
We're back in it, guys. We really appreciate y'all listening.
Season 2.
We've gotten so many likes on our Facebook page. Definitely check that out if you haven't been over to that yet. Tell your friends, tell your family, and be back here with us because we're going to be having another one of these now on a weekly basis, covering, like Bree said, the leagues are starting up here in America. So
Premier League starting up too.
Premier starting up, so that's really exciting. We're excited to be back in it. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.